All right. Last week, we left Jacob and his sons in Canaan in a desperate situation. They had gone to buy grain, had to leave Simeon as a hostage back in Egypt, and are told he would not be released until Benjamin was sent to Egypt. So, a couple months earlier, last week when we started, it was bad. They were sitting around, had no food, and so Jacob says, go off to Egypt. Now, at first, when he comes back, maybe he sees the grain, saying, well, this is encouraging, but then Simeon's not there, and they hear the proposal, and Jacob is like, absolutely, all right. So now it's gone from bad to worse. Now we'll talk about, because as the grain, all the grain they brought back from Egypt, they went through it. So let's read the first 10 verses now. And the famine was sore in the land, so we're 2 or 3 years now into the 7-year famine. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the corn which they had brought out of Egypt, their father said unto them, go again, buy us a little food. So Jacob is just saying, just do what you did last time. And Judah spake unto him, saying, the man did solemnly protest unto us, saying, ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. If thou wilt send our brother with us, we will, Benjamin, this is talking about, of course, if thou wilt send our brother with us, we will go down and buy thee food. But if thou wilt not send him, we will not go down. For the man said unto us, ye shall not see my face, except your brother be with you. And Israel said, wherefore deal ye so ill with me, as to tell the man whether ye had yet a brother? And they said, the man asked us straightly of our state and of our kindred, saying, is your father yet alive? Have ye another brother? And we told him, according to the tenor of these words, could we certainly know that he would say, bring your brother down? And Judah said unto Israel, his father, send the lad with me, and we will rise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and thou, and also our little ones. I will be surety for him of my hand, shalt thou require him. If I bring him not unto thee, and set him before thee, then let it me bear the blame forever. For except we had lingered, surely now we had returned this second time. Okay, a lot of stuff to talk about here. First of all, Judah seems to be becoming the leader of the boys. Now, even though he's not firstborn, he's fourthborn actually. But we know Reuben, Simeon, and Levi's issue, but even Judah had one himself, but he seems to be taking the role of kind of a spiritual leader. And in those days, at this time, I'm trying to figure out, Jacob is in his 140s, so Judah is probably, they're probably in their 50s or 60s, but no matter the age, in those days and customs, when the father said something, you did it. Like he was in charge until the end, then you were in charge until the end. But in this one place, Judah says, no, we're not going to go down, because the man explicitly said, unless you bring Benjamin, we're not going to, you'll not see my face. So they knew this was the condition that they were given. And kind of lost my place there. So they said, we're not going to go. And Judah also says, hold my life to me if I don't bring Benjamin back safe to you. If you remember the last time, Reuben said, sacrifice my 2 sons if we don't bring him. So we can see there's change in the brothers now. The ones that once betrayed and hated Joseph and sent him into slavery, now we can see some of the change. Let's look at some other things in here. Of course, Jacob says, why did you do this? Why did you tell him all this information? They're like, the man asked us right at the beginning, how on earth did we know? Now, in hindsight, of course, we know, but I'm sure at the time the brothers was thinking, all right, this man is running the world. Why does he care about our elderly father and how many brothers we have? This makes no sense at all. But as we'll see, sometimes the coincidences and strange things in life aren't that at all. There was reason behind it. And then they also made the remarks showing that how long they had milked this out. He said, if we had went back when we initially ran out, we could have returned by now and all of us been together. So they really stretched it out. So they must be in desperate situation. So I would say as low as it's been for Jacob, this is about the low point, and had to get to this point for him to reluctantly agree to this next part, and that's what it'd be. He's going to send Benjamin down. So verses 11 to 15. And their father Israel said unto them, if it must be so now, do this. Take of the best fruits in the land in your vessels, and carry down the man a present, a little bone, and a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds, and take double money in your hand, and the money that was brought again in the mouth of your sacks, carried again in your hand. Peradventure it was an oversight. Take also your brother and arise, go again to the man. And God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may send away your other brother and Benjamin. If I be bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. And the men took the present, and they took double money in their hand. And Benjamin rose up and went down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. So finally, Jacob comes to the conclusion: if I'm bereaved, I'm bereaved. He is basically saying, we're going to die anyway, so I've got no choice. As reluctant as I am about this, I'm going to let them take Benjamin down there. So he gives the go-ahead. He addresses the problem of the mysterious money, so he has them gather fruits and nuts and whatever, I guess, what was budding in Canaan during that famine. He sends him double the money, because, you know, they had sent the money they said had mysteriously appeared in their sack. And so he sends that money back. So say it was, so they each had $50, and the 50 come back. So this time he sent them with $100 each. 50 they brought back, and 50 more dollars. So he was covering all the bases. And when Jacob said, and carry this to the man, how many think that him had the slightest clue when he said the man, and that was his missing son Joseph that he hadn't seen in 20 years? Little did he know, did any of them know? Jacob would only consider this option, like I said, if they're absolutely desperate. So it was like this or starvation. So it's like, you know, if someone says, this medicine will work in 1 out of 1,000 people, and it'll cost you everything you have. But if you don't take it, you're going to die in a few weeks anyway. So you've got nothing to lose. So you put it all into this. Noted the remark, if I'm bereaved of my children, I'm bereaved. So they begin the long journey, and I pray to myself here, what is Jacob thinking? Just imagine it probably takes a day or two to get everything set. They load the camels down, or horses, whatever they went down on, put all the spices and fruits and stuff they could accumulate, took their money, and Jacob sends him off, and even though it's probably, I don't know, maybe no more, maybe 100 miles, by foot on camel, this is going to take a few days. And as he watches him walk off into the sunset, I'm sure he's specifically focusing on Benjamin, saying, will I ever see him again? But then the thought is coming, will I ever see any of them again? Joseph's gone, Simeon's in jail, there goes Benjamin. And I'm sure, knowing the enemy like I do, who's been around for thousands of years, he was probably tormenting his mind. He was saying maybe something like, all right, let's just get this straight. God chose your grandfather out of all the families of the earth to be the family, through which he was going to work his plan, and you've totally blown it. You've lost one of your sons, another one you probably won't see again, and there's a chance you might not see all 12 of them again. And imagine those next, however long it took them to get back there and come back. They were a long set of days and weeks and months, as Jacob probably just sat there pondering, wondering. But we do know these were the patriarchs, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all show great faith. So maybe perhaps Jacob found himself, said, Lord, I do not know what you are doing here. This seems to be collapsing. Everything that you've promised to me seems to be fading away. But I hold promises you give to me, and hopefully you'll somehow bring good out of this. Remember Jacob's statement last week, all things are against me. That seems to even be getting worse. Little did they know that the Lord is behind the scenes, putting it all together. All right, so now the brothers are entering, and just imagine approaching the highway, coming to Egypt. I'm sure they're nervous. They're saying, how will he react this time? Is Simeon all right? What is he going to do when we tell him about the money that was in our sacks? Are they waiting there to arrest us as soon as we get there? And they all deserve it. What they've done, what they did to Joseph. And unbeknownst to them, Joseph they're just moving into his plan. And I imagine as he sent them away, he's saying, I hope I see them again. Deep down knowing he will, but as the time, because it said Judah said we could have gone and come back again because Jacob stalled so long because of Benjamin. And imagine Joseph sat there looking each day, or have one of his people under him said, they're coming, Lord. So Joseph goes, all right, let's go plan phase 2. So we'll read that verses 16 to 25. Now, if you remember the first time they came, Joseph dealt harshly with them, spoke to them, accused them of being spies. But this time, things are different. And when Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the ruler of his house, bring these men home and slay and make ready, for these men shall dine with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph bade, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, because of the money that was returned in our sacks at the first time are we brought in, that he may seek occasion against us and fall upon us and take us for bondmen and for asses. They came near to the steward of Joseph's house, and they communed with him in the door of the house and said, oh, sir, we came indeed down at the first time to buy food. And it came to pass, when we came to the end, that we opened our sacks, and behold, every man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight, and we have brought it again in our hand. And other money have we brought down in our hands to buy food. We cannot tell who put our money in our sacks. And he said, peace be to you, fear not, your God and the God of your father hath given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money, and he brought Simeon out unto them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their asses provender, and they made ready. The present against Joseph came at noon, for they heard that they should not eat bread there. All right, several things to talk about here. First of all, as soon as they get there, I imagine when Joseph saw that Benjamin with them, he'd give the go ahead. He said, okay. He said, they did what I said to do. So he prepares a banquet. And what are they doing? They're extremely paranoid, thinking, why are we in his house? Instead of being thankful for this, they're scared to death, because it shows, I guess, over the years they've built up this feeling of, what's going to happen against us now, or they're maybe being paid back for Joseph more, but they're reluctantly surprised. Joseph has a man telling them, no, your money, we received your money. So again, they're probably thinking, what's going on here? This is confusing. As soon as Joseph sees Benjamin, he immediately treats him better, has him cleaned and prepared for a meal, and then I'm sure they're relieved to see here is Simeon brought before them. So now for the first time in, 2-3 years of famine, 7 years, 10, over 20 years, all 12 brothers are together, unbeknownst to them. To them, they just think it's still the 11th. He treats them royalty, and they have to be thinking, I wrote down here, the first time we come here, this man treats us harshly, asks us these ridiculous questions, and keeps one of our brothers prisoner when he's, ruling the whole world here. Why does he care about a bunch of shepherds from Canaan? Now we do exactly what he says, bring it back, and he treats us like royalty. I wonder if they're thinking, he's crazy. This guy's crazy. He might be one of those kind who's brilliant, intelligent, but don't know, where his right sock and left sock is, or left shoe, right shoe is. All these thoughts have to be thinking in their mind. And they also have to think, which I'm going to bring out in this final part, there are no coincidences with God. How many of you have some things in your life that there's no not necessarily spirit, it could be spiritual, or even just something you encountered, you're like, that was very weird, how did that happen? Is it just a random coincidence, or is the Lord working behind it? We'll talk about those. So they make preparations for the feast. And now we'll go along to this last section here, where we begin to talk about where things start to be getting strange. get to that point of coincidence. I guess everyone's had these things where you said that is a mystery that I'll never know. I thought of 3 different things in my life that I always wondered about. The first was when I was 9, and G was gone. G just graduated from high school, was going off to leave for the first time, and we stopped halfway. My dad's uncle lived in Woodstock, Virginia. I know I was excited to go down. It was my first time to Cleveland. We were going to see Uncle Josh's place for the first time too. And we get in the hills, of course, and stuff where, you know, we go into a house and it might be, you walk into downstairs and go down to the something, you know, unheard of here in Chrisfield, the Flatlands. And he had a really neat little, and his wife there, they were elderly, didn't have any children. They had a little house, brick house here on the highway, and an antique shop there. And the railroad went right behind the house. And I remember it was the afternoon, and they told me, said, now a train comes by in a few minutes if you want to go out there and watch it. So I went right out the back door, and there was like their house here, the train here, and a field, and some bushes here. And I was waiting, I heard from the bushes, hey, like that. And I took off like a dart and back into the house. And I always wondered, was it an extreme? Was it a child predator, a hobo, a teenage boy, maybe not much older than me, just give me a scare? It's a great mystery in life that I'll never know. Was it something serious, or was it just, you know, just somebody playing around?
Somebody trying to be friendly.
Yeah, but I didn't hang around. Believe me, I got out of there. So that's a mystery. I'll never know to the other side, and I might not care when I get there. That was one of the first 3 of them I thought of. Second one, this was a really, really weird one. The summer I turned 16, got my learner's permit right at the end of school, and that summer on days, either mornings off or something, we would go. He had a Honda Accord, which was a stick shift. So that was what they had, and I thought, well, at least if I learn in a stick shift, automatic will be easy after that. So mornings we go and take rides on all the back roads and stuff like that. One of the places we like to visit was the graveyard. We go up to Sunny Ridge, and Dad, knowing a lot of people in town, we walked through and said, that's so-and-so, and they explained to different people. So one of these times we parked on the side of the road there, and we got out and walked, and it's been so long, but I remember with a stick shift, you put it in gear whenever you turn the car off. So we go to walk over to the graveyard, and you're in Sunny Ridge, you're out in the country there, you're not really near any kind of like factories, and we could hear like this something in the background running. We're saying, what on earth is that noise? And then and Dad said, it could be the car. I said, no, it can't be the car. I turned it off. And then we listened, there's nothing else. I said, well, it is a car. And I said, that's funny, because I always put it in gear when I turn it off. Because, you know, if you left it in gear, the car would start moving. So I go in, the car's running, and the car's in gear. And I said, Dad is in gear. And we talked about that for what happened. Now, it might have been just something that the car maybe was on a slight hill, and because it was on a hill, it didn't move. But I mean, that's my automatic thing. Turn the car off as soon as you get out. So that's another mystery, especially being in the graveyard. You know, if we were out in a cotton field somewhere, but that made you think, what's going on here? Has who's ever buried the spot here saying, I'm going to have a little fun with these mortals here.
What do you eat before you go to bed?
This was morning though. This was like 11 o'clock in the morning. And finally, mystery number 3. I still had my old Ford Tempo, and I had got my golf clubs re-gripped. And one day I had to work afternoon, so I said, in the morning I'm going to go up to Westover and pick these up. So I'm leaving town about where a little bit past Rubberset, and here comes a red and blue behind me. And I'm going, and it's pulling me over. I'm going, not speeding, got my seatbelt on. It's daytime, so no lights will be showing if they're out. So I said, I'll pull over. He walks up to me, you know, that thing on the side. I believe his hand was on his holster. Comes up to the window, goes, okay, sir, you can go ahead. And then he just left, and I was like, well, so another mystery. Now I'm assuming probably there was someone they were looking for in a vehicle similar to mine, but still to this day, that was like the grace that he was coming at me like he was like one of those guys on Cops, you know, ready for me to take off running, and then just like that up and left. So I thought of those 3 mysteries, that I might never know the
Were
answer
they
of.
dreams or did it really happen?
Huh?
That really happened?
I'm pretty sure they they happen.
Oh, I thought you were. No.
This was the real deal. So, why I said that, a lot of strange things are happening to Joseph's brothers here, and I'm sure they're thinking, even though this is 1900 BC, people are a little more superstitious back then. They are at least have one of the few people on earth who have a godly heritage and a belief in the God of the Bible, and they're probably thinking, is it him messing with us ever since we've sold our brother into slavery, and they think he's probably just died years ago. We've had Reuben's sin with his father's concubine, Judah's incident with his daughter-in-law, Simeon and Levi, that horrible incident at Shechem where they killed the whole village after they had them circumcised. Then we've had this famine. We go down, and this guy, for some strange reason, asked us, how many brothers are you, and is there any more? Is your father living? Why would he ask us such absurd questions? And now we're getting ready to see another coincidence come out that makes these brothers thinking, what is going on here? All right. Verse 26. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. So there they are bowing again, and imagine, Joseph, if there's a little bit of flesh in him, and saying, he was thinking to himself, here comes the dreamer, huh? Looks like the dreamer has dreams for a reason. And he asked them of their welfare and said, is your father well, the old man of whom you spake? Is he yet alive? Maybe they thought again, why is he so obsessed with an old man living in Canaan? And the answer, thy servant our father is in good health, he is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, is this your younger brother of whom you spake unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And then Joseph loses it. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. So remember, Benjamin is his younger brother. All the rest are older. Fully biological brother. His other 10 have a different mother. We're thinking 6 of them are his brother and cousins at the same time because their mothers were sisters, and the other 4, we're not sure. But Benjamin's his full younger brother. Being the person who was Joseph was probably a good older brother to him. They were probably close. And he was still, if Joseph was 17, Benjamin might have only been 7 or 8 when Joseph, disappeared. And now Joseph sees him for the first time. The one brother who didn't betray him, he's grown to a man now, so he's probably in his early 30s. And Joseph is just overcome by emotion, and he has to just leave the room. And I'm sure, again, the brothers were thinking, where's he going? What's wrong with him? Again, little did they know. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, set on bread. And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians, which did eat with by themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. So eating with the people and basically I guess thought they were a higher class and didn't, want to be associated with. So Joseph kept up with the custom. And this is brought out later, I think, when all the brothers come down and Joseph's revealed, and it says, when they find out you're shepherds, they won't like that. That's why they sent them to Goshen, where they eventually grew into the great nation. But that'll happen eventually. And they sat before him, and here we go again. Another crazy thing. What's going on here? The firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men marveled one another. And he took and sent messes unto them from before him. But Benjamin's mess was 5 times so much as any of theirs, and they drank and were merry with him. I probably should have used another version than the King James this week, because mess we don't think of as an abundant pile of food, but that's what it was here. So then think again, Joseph's brothers are probably going, man, the last time we came here, we were lucky to leave with our lives. We left Simeon behind and didn't know if we'd ever see him again. Now he's treating us like royalty. He's brought Simeon in front of us unharmed. He's glad to see Benjamin, but this is crazy. Look, it's not like his 3 brothers. It's 11 brothers, and all 11 are sitting in order according to their age. And again, they got to be thinking, something's crazy going on here. They're probably thinking, is God doing this to us? Is there just some kind of karma spirit before the days of something going on messing with us? I'm sure of all the things they thought of, they didn't think, you know what, I bet that's Joseph, and he set us in order like that. That was the last thing from their mind. And you also might want to think, once again, how could they not recognize him? Years make a difference. A boy of 17 to a man almost 40, and they're probably all with beards and robes. And again, he's shaved head, maybe even has one of those hat gears that Pharaoh wears. And so you can see where it could be, unrecognizable to them. That's once again another coincidence. It's not unprecedented. I think of another incident where my mom's had a lot of brothers and sisters, and one time our Uncle David had just died. So he was like the second one, and they started to string them all down. There was still 11 living, and Prestine, the youngest of them, had a thing at their house. And then when I went to pick them up, I said, let me take a picture of first the brothers, then the sisters, and then all of them together. And then in the picture, each one, they were all lined up by age. I don't know if they did that. I really doubt that, because they're all goofing. I said, that's kind of funny, because it's a lot of them gathered up together. So I'm saying a coincidence, it could have been, but in this case, it wasn't the case. So life is good right now for the children. Here's what they're thinking. They're thinking, okay, we've got our grain. We've met the needs that he's asked us to do. We've told him about the money that was given to us, and he said, don't worry about it. He's seen our brother Benjamin. He's pleased. He's going to send him back. He's going to give us a load of grain. We'll go back, and hopefully this time we won't have to come back again, and we'll have enough to feed our families until this famine ends. And this story's over. We'll live happily ever after, so-and-so, so-and-so. But as we know, Joseph still's got one more plan. So life's good for the brothers, and then we'll see next week it's going to get real bad again. And we'll see also that Joseph is not just doing it, to mess with them. He's not doing it to pay them back. He's not doing it for vengeance for what they did to them. He's saying, these brothers did a horrible thing. They had horrible character to do what they did to me. And I need to see that they have changed. And the only one way to know for sure is if I'm going to focus on the only other son of Jacob and Rachel, my other brother, and see what happens when I go after him, see how they behave about this. So we'll see about that next week.